Yeah, okay. State paying for it, so I don't
Tracy,
know
how's
how
it? How are you?
Good, man.
Yeah.
How you doing? Oh, I'm good.
All right.
Good.
Well, we're ready to begin now.
All righty.
Let's start. This meeting is called to order. Approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Y'all had a chance to read these?
I did. They look fine to me.
Okay. Minutes are approved as presented, with no changes. City of Springdale special election.
For the absentee ballot, we had originally set up to count in this room starting on August the 4th, which is the first day we can count. However, space is at a premium in the courthouse, and the assessor's office has to start holding hearings about property values. So they really need this room to hold their hearings, to be able to have someone come in, properly social distance and do everything that board needs to do. So Russ called to ask if we could go to another room. He has offered his conference room, and it will work perfect because it will only be my staff. It's not going to be a large staff.
Good.
So it will work perfect for us canvassing the ballot. It has to be virtual anyway. The public really can't come in and watch us in person.
Are you gonna have, streaming then?
Yes, I have talked to Lisa and IT about that. So basically, it'll just stream. And we're gonna confirm today at our meeting at 10 with the state board that what we're doing is all on board. Yeah, so, because I don't know how else to canvass ballots, especially in smaller spaces, and have the public in and make sure we social distance. We won't be able to, so it has to be virtual. But Russ's conference room is perfect for this small election.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I will update the notice of election, in so much that since the public can't come, once I get the virtual meeting set up, I will post that, and then we'll put it on our calendar on the county's website as well, so that they can go to it, which is more visibility than I think it's ever probably had anyway, so yeah. So.
Good.
Okay, any comments on that? Other info? All right, next one, sign updated poll worker notice, is that here?
Yes, one of our long-term supervisors, who's been a wonderful supervisor for us for many, many years, for health reasons, is no longer going to be able to work, so I've had to find an alternate supervisor for that polling location to train the new supervisor, basically. So I'm bringing in our supervisor from Central. It's a really wonderful supervisor. And so she's going to basically work election day and train one of the poll workers who's already part of Elmdale's crew to be the new supervisor. So I always feel like that's a great way to get a new supervisor, is having an older, more established supervisor to train. So the notice just reflects the addition of 2 additional poll workers for Elmdale specifically.
We don't have to do a revision or anything on that since it isn't posted yet.
It's not, we're actually posting it today, and the law allows us to make substitutions when we need to if we can't find poll workers, and with one stepping down, it puts us in the situation where this is why that part of the law is in there for us.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, any thoughts on that? Sign certificate of logic and accuracy.
I'm good, I think there's a lot of
And so the certificate of logic and accuracy, obviously that is just a testing. The voting equipment, making sure that everything counts accurately, and so if there ever was a request for a recount, this is the documentation that they would request
Now, this is just for the August 11th.
This is just for the August 11th election, so yes. And I think that
Well, that
only
makes
needs
sense.
one commissioner's signature on it, but,
Oh, does it?
yeah.
You already signed it, Renee?
Go ahead.
You signed it?
No, after you look.
Oh,
at
gotcha,
it.
gotcha, gotcha.
And
Okay.
then we filed this with the county clerk's office as well.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Oh,
Where's the pen?
it'll be in my office, yeah. We will have the 450 for this election too. Jerry will train us on it on Monday. We already built it into the election, so we'll be able to actually run our test deck through the 450 for this August.
Oh, that's great. Practice with it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so we went ahead and
That's great.
set it up so that we would be able to do that, so. Good.
Cool, I signed it, we're good to go.
Okay, COVID-19 supplies needed.
So the only thing I think we're lacking for our polling location, I ordered the face shields. They've been saying they're coming, they're not coming. However, I talked to John Luther, and he has some that he can give us, to use, especially because this is such a small number for this
And we can
election.
just replace his supply when ours comes.
Because we'll
Assuming they
have,
come.
assuming they come, it shows for delivery today, but we'll see. And it won't be as an urgent need for the general because the state is supplying them. It's just we have to come up with those for this election. So I'm still waiting on the face shields, and then, spray bottles. We have a few, we are actually gonna use some smaller spray bottles for like the check-in station, because I don't think they need a big giant spray bottle of alcohol for their thing. So, but other than that, we have, I think, all the COVID-19 supplies in that we need, but I know I'll be able to get the face shields if for some reason my order doesn't come in, so.
Great.
Okay, so we're not lacking anything, hopefully.
No, yeah, we should be okay.
Okay.
Emergency planning will help us out if we need it.
Other thoughts? Meeting dates, August the 13th and August the 21st.
So the August the 13th meeting, I will let you know if, we won't be in this room. Just simply because if they're holding hearings, I'll have to figure out an alternate location for it. We may not even have to have this meeting either, because this would be for provisional ballots that the commission is, accepting yes or no. So we should be able to, and Russ's room is smaller than this, I'll need to think about what we need to do for that. It could be that we meet in the training room in the judicial annex. I would just need to talk to John and see if it's available. So I'll let you know about that. But the August 21st one, since we were in the quorum courtroom to begin with, because we're doing our ballot draw, we're okay for that one.
Oh, that's good news. All right, I believe we set a time on August the 11th to be here. Did we say 6:30?
6:30.
Okay. And are we upstairs for that?
No, we will be in here for this. There's a finance committee meeting. I think it starts at 6. I mean, if we wanted to push back and not meet till, I don't know if they'd be done.
Are they meeting in person?
Ann does, Ann always comes to the meeting.
I mean, is
And
it,
then the public has the right to be in there as well.
Oh,
For, like, the public is in there watching the quorum court meeting. So I don't think we could have dueling
Oh,
meetings
yeah.
in the same room, even if it's being held virtually.
I was gonna say, if it was just Ann, you know, maybe
Right.
Ann could come down here and do the video thing, but
Let me,
I don't know. If it's the public too, I mean, I get it. Just 'cause we're gonna have more folks than that.
I was thinking the same thing, but, you know, that's their normal place.
Yeah, but so hard to, I mean,
Yeah.
with the space at the courthouse,
You're right.
it's a pretty tough thing.
There's a couple picnic tables out there.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
let me
Can
check with you.
can we get it streamed out there?
Well, we could just move a TV out.
Heck, I would do it.
So, yeah, so.
I'm inside.
Well, yeah, check on that, 'cause that, I mean, it really would be better if we were in the quorum
Right,
room.
and if they
Yeah.
could set it up so that Ann could come down here,
Yeah, it seems like they could.
and if everyone else is on Zoom,
Yep,
Right. They
and.
wouldn't even know where she was,
No.
other than looking at it.
Right.
exactly.
And the public, they allow the public to come to those meetings, but traditionally the public hasn't been coming, but they limit it to 10 people. So in essence, you could almost let Ann come down here and then limit the public in here to 3, and everyone else could watch it.
Yeah,
I'll check with Julie and see if that's even possible, assuming that they are meeting by Zoom. I don't know
Yeah,
if
that might be.
at some point they may decide to meet in person.
they have been, right, up to this point?
They've been meeting by
Yeah.
Zoom, and they're meeting tomorrow night is by Zoom.
Yeah. I mean, if they're meeting by Zoom, nobody comes, we have members of the public come too, we've got a ton more people.
Yeah.
Maybe just put it to them that way, hey, we got, you know,
I'll check with Julie and see.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, new absentee ballot procedures. This is,
So I visited with Brian, their Director of Elections in Pulaski County, who has way more experience with absentee ballots. They've had to do 5,000 or more for big elections, just because they have more, you know, a higher voter registration numbers. So I asked him how he did canvassing, what his procedures were, and he had some great, wonderful ideas that I was like, absolutely, I think that's what we need to do. The main one that he suggested that we do, in the past, we've spent time alphabetizing the ballots, and then we have the county clerk makes copies of the voter application. And so then we go through and we marry the two together as we're doing that process. He said you need to, when the absentee ballots come into the clerk's office, before you put them in the ballot box, you need to go ahead and attach that application to the ballot. Then you don't have to spend time alphabetizing, because you already have the piece of document that you need. And instead of using the list that he gives us, we'll still use that. We would use it to check off because it was in alphabetical order. He said you'll just create your own list by writing down the name of the voter on your list. He did a separate form, so whenever you had a ballot that couldn't be counted, the poll workers filled out this form. In the past, we've had not that many, and we've only had a few people doing this. We would have them write the reason on the absentee ballot and put it back in there. So for the form, I actually am gonna do these stickers that, and Max, you have
Yeah.
a completed copy basically. So if there's a reason for the ballot to not be counted, they'll mark it on that, slap it on the front of the ballot, put everything back in, then we'll organize them in these little things. So we know these are the reasons why.
You're ahead of the game then.
Exactly. And then, we'll have the thing for the voter statement and all of that completed, and then they'll have a ballot only. We'll do it in small batches of 50, that's what he recommended to do, and you work in teams of 2. And then you have a couple of supervisors who are kind of runners, who go and, like, when a group is finished, they go and verify their count, they pick everything up, and then you store it. So we're gonna just revamp our whole system, basically. His was a wonderful idea. We'll have this, and I gave you the copy of what the steps are. So this will be at each table for our absentee canvassers, so they can clearly see and it doesn't get lost in all their paperwork. We'll set up each canvasser with their own bucket of supplies, so that we're not having to share staplers.
And run here and there.
Other than the person you're sitting next to, but each table will have its own setup. And I met, over with John over at the Judicial Annex. They have a training room in there that will be perfect for us to use. It's a little bit bigger than this, but the nice thing about it is it already has 12 tables set up in there for teams of 2.
Yeah.
It was set up purposely for us. Security won't be an issue. We'll be able to lock everything and keep everything secure. We'll have our own access code to the room while we're there and everything. So, and we'll be able to, I'll need to get with Sydney and Lisa about the streaming of it, because that'll be another thing. We have to stream from there. And we can have it for the 2 weeks if the governor signs the executive order giving us the full 2 weeks to canvass the ballot. I think this is gonna be the best way for us to do it. It's a great process.
Yeah, that's like they streamlined it.
Yeah.
Let's go to the front end. You said, you get do the ballots go to Becky's office when they come in the mail, they go there? So she can immediately get the application and attach it to it before you ever see it.
We actually will do that for Becky's office.
Gotcha.
Becky's office is gonna be so tight on time and processing the ones that are going out, that the ones coming in, it is going to be difficult for her to do that.
Yeah.
So when I asked her this, she just asked if we would do it. So we will basically, once the ballots come in and they scan them into the computer, one of our team will go up and match that for us. So basically, we're just working with Becky's office, both of us, just making sure that the whole absentee process goes smoothly. So whatever help and support she needs from us, we'll give it to her.
But, okay, let's be clear for the people, if there's anybody watching, these are not the ballots we're talking about. These are the ballot envelopes, correct?
Right, so basically, this is what comes back to the clerk's office, and it has everything in it, okay? It also, it has their name and everything, and it'll have like a little barcode on there, basically.
Yeah.
The clerk scans that in to mark that the ballot has been received. Then we will take and find, she's still making copies of the application for us. So we will take the application, put the two together, and then it will be stored in the ballot box until we start the process. We're not opening anything.
Right, and that's what I thought should be clarified.
We're not doing anything like that, but we'll already have these 2 pieces of paper, which is what you need to start the process. We'll already have these 2 pieces of paper together before we even begin the canvassing process, which is a huge time saver for us.
Yes, that'll be huge. I like that.
Yeah, what a great process, Jennifer. I mean, smart to talk to somebody who's done it every election and get ideas.
With a lot of
strategies.
volume.
Exactly, same thing we're gonna be facing. I mean, really good idea to revamp our processes. Seems like what you've set up there is much more, is an organized and efficient system to canvass a significant number of absentee ballots. I mean, I really like this absentee ballot, just little checkbox here too, where we can organize, you know, the reason.
Yeah, and just slap it on the front of the envelope and you're way ahead of the game then.
Exactly. Can we do this process, or are we gonna do this process during the special election? And I ask that thinking, you know, if we could, and we are, maybe we could refine it even further. I mean, see what works, see what doesn't work, and tweak it from there.
So we will do it with our own staff, exactly the way I have it set up for us to do for the general. The only reason I'm not bringing any of our regular canvassers in, because if I do tweak it, I don't want to show them something that I then change my
Mhm.
mind on how we're doing it.
Yeah,
So, yes, so basically the goal is, for this August 11th election, I have, the two people coming in that are going to help us, for the general election, and go over and let them do this exactly how I want it done for the general. We'll tweak anything we see where we need to redo it, or it didn't quite work the way we thought it would. But the August 11th election is gonna be a great chance for us to make sure that this works well. I do think I mean, just talking to Brian, I do think that it will work great how we have it done. And I've also talked to Melco. These I got off of Uline, because I wanted to see what everything would look like, and
Yeah.
I knew we would use them for the August election. Melco is willing to loan us all of these different supply things that we'll need for canvassing the absentee ballots, so that I
Good.
don't have to invest in a lot of stuff that we might not use in the future.
yeah,
So Melco is going to loan us that, and they also have some larger cages that they can bring in that can be locked, so that we can put the paperwork in. Now, the ballots will always stay in the ballot box, but like the paperwork and different things like that, we'll be able to store them, but we'll still be able to lock them up. So Melco is really gonna work with us and help us, with the supplies that we need for that.
Good,
So,
that's
yeah.
terrific.
yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Melco.
Thank you, Melco.
Okay, any other observations on this? Let's see, we've got, well, I'm not following along very well here, Jennifer.
Polling
I've got
place
this.
procedures is,
Agenda item 3, and then the next page is voter ID procedures.
yeah, so that'll be in the polling place
Okay,
procedures.
polling
Yeah.
place, all right.
So as we're going through thinking about the August 11th election and trying to make sure we're keeping the COVID-19 concerns, some of the things that we've talked about, we have completed. So we have, this is basically the check-in station will be completed with this is everything that they'll have here. This is specifically for the August 11th election with the procedures for the check-in station. This is where the voters will wait in line with this turned to them. This will be the ballots, and then we've gotten these aprons for our poll workers, so that the stylists and everything are all in here. Their cleaning, their hand sanitizer, so everything they need is right there for them. So they'll hand the voter the ballot and the stylist, so everything that they'll need.
This is the first person that they
Yes.
see.
Yes, so that's part of that procedure, and then of course, the voter will place their own ballot here. We have that marked for them, their instructions, all of that. When they get to the express vote, we even changed the instructions on the express vote, to make it clear, because this used to say insert activation card. You know what that means?
Yeah,
This showed a picture of someone's finger actually touching the thing. So we made that a stylist. The goal is that the voter can actually go to the express vote by themselves and not have us have to do anything with them, not have to walk over there with them. So we rechanged all of this. There'll be newer instructions on the inside of this as well. On the back of this came from a poll worker. These will be numbered, so the express vote poll worker can tell the voter, go to express vote 2, go to express vote 3,
Good.
go to express vote. So it's easy to
Oh, yeah,
tell.
that's great.
We did the same thing with this, we'll have little vinyl numbers here that say, and this, the little thing up here that'll say check-in station, there'll be little vinyl numbers here that say 1 or 2 or 3. So this poll worker can say, go to check-in station 1, check-in station 2, and so forth. The supervisor will have their own setup, that'll be clearly marked for them as well about address changes, what the voter needs to do, we put the information there, and then for the provisional ballot. The supervisors really need 2 shields. One, to do the address changes.
Yeah.
And to keep them over here. The other one, to be able to put paperwork back and forth. So we'll see how many shields we're getting from the state, and then depending on the number of polling locations we have open, we may want to revisit if we need more shields, because the supervisors really do need 2 at their station.
You ordered 5 for each one of our,
I ordered,
stations for August 11th,
we'll have
right?
4 at each polling
4.
location. We only have 2 check-in tablets,
Oh,
so the supervisor will get 2
okay.
at their station. So we'll know for sure that that
Yeah.
is what we need. This company that we ordered these from, I ordered them, and within a week they were here.
Wow, that's great.
So, and I don't think we would have to order that many more.
No, it doesn't
If-
sound like you'd
if
have to
we
make
do-
up.
We're not ordering from overseas then? It's
No,
something
no,
more
yes.
local.
Yes, so with that in mind, yesterday, we also made a change to our process that we're gonna test for this election too. So the little boxes you have in front of you,
Yeah,
one of the things we kept thinking about is what are people touching all day long in the polling location? And in the past, for address change, we had one form for every voter to sign when they came in, one form for spoiled ballots,
Right.
so you would have
oh,
a list
yeah,
of
for the
10
polling
lists of
location.
20. So what we did was, we did little index cards. So basically, you would have one card for an address change for the voter to fill out, and then we would put it in, we'll have little bags for them to put it in. But that way, it's a new, clean form each time a voter comes to do something.
And it'll just be this little form here that somebody fills out,
Mhm.
and then the poll worker will take this filled out from the voter, or you'll have like a little
We'll
box.
have a little box, basically, that they'll store them in, and they'll come back. So instead of having sheets of paper, we'll
Yeah.
have just individual index cards for address changes, for provisional, and for spoiled ballots. That way, voters aren't signing the same piece of paper
Yep,
all day.
that seems great, and it's just, before we had one form, right? Just like for the polling location, I mean, I remember seeing a backup at times at that form too, right?
Right.
So it seems like this could even be quicker and more efficient if you're having folks each just fill out the card for each poll worker check-in station. It could be even faster.
Yeah, I think so too, especially if you've got a line of address changes.
Yep,
Someone could pass those out, because we've got plenty of clipboards, and you could have it filled out, and then when you get there, you present your little card with your address change on it, and your provisional ballot, your spoiled ballot. So this will be a test run for us for the August election to see how the supervisors like it, how well it works. I think it'll work well. I think it's another area where we're preventing people from touching, because
Yeah.
basically, you would have a list of address changes, and a voter will sign, and then another voter comes in and signs, and then another voter. So someone will be touching this,
all day.
various people will be
Yeah.
touching this all day long.
So this goes with the supervisor then?
This would be sitting at the supervisor table.
Gotcha, okay.
With their little forms in it, and then they would have, once the form is completed, they would have a clear bag to mark for each different one to put in.
Oh, good.
So, yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's another good job changing procedures and trying some things, especially in this special election, to see how we can improve the processes with COVID-19 and streamline things. And, yeah, I think this is great, Jennifer.
So this one came to us yesterday. We were just like,
Oh,
what
wow.
if?
Yeah.
Because that was the one thing, because we knew we were sending extra pins for the supervisor to be able to trade, so each voter would get a new pin.
Oh, yeah,
As they signed, but I was like, the form,
yeah.
It stays the same, everybody is touching that form.
and then that poll worker is having to touch the form
Hmm.
that 20 people have touched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this kind of prevents part of that too. They'll still have plenty of pins to be able to trade out and sanitize pins.
Yeah.
We're still gonna do that, but at least the form, it'll be a new form.
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent thinking.
Yeah. So, the other part that's in your packet is basically what I'm looking to propose to put online,
Oh,
for
okay.
the voters to see.
This is number 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Keeping voters safe when voting in person. Do you plan to put this whole?
It will look different. I
Yeah.
have to save it as a PDF to be able to show it to you. When it's on the web, it looks completely different.
Oh, okay.
So, yes. But this you can see everything I have on here.
So essentially, what this is a rundown of the procedure that we will use, that the voters can look at online and familiarize themselves with and understand the measures of safety that we're taking in order to make voting in person tolerant for this.
Right, this is geared to the voters, so they'll know, and basically kind of the different steps, you know, and then to show them, you know, here's where you're gonna put your ballot in at, you know, what the express vote kind of looks like. It's clear when you look at it online, I know it's just not super clear, but yeah, so.
I mean, I do think the more photos, the better. Even a photo, I mean, I don't want to get carried away, but, I mean, like, maybe a photo with a stylus on there,
Yeah.
where it says that, you know, just so people have an idea.
I'm thinking maybe we could even, I'm thinking out of the box here, I guess. I'm thinking perhaps it would be helpful if we handed out a little sheet to people standing in line that went through this.
We had thought about that, but then that's one more thing that,
It is,
that they
yes,
have.
it is.
And the idea is that each station, the information is there.
Mhm.
So
Oh, sure.
when you're waiting in line here, this
Mhm.
information's right here for you. When you're here, the
Right,
information is right here for you. For the express vote, I am going to get, a bigger poster made when you're waiting in line for the express vote with what to do at the express vote. But the idea is we have it here and here. So we have it at each station. We had talked about that,
Yeah.
but then with them handling their own ballot from the get-go, that's just another piece of paper that we thought
yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
lose, or they're
Yeah.
gonna, you know, do something with, and so that's why each station itself is marked and labeled.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea, Renee, to have that information multiple places.
Right.
I mean, I'm not criticizing all the documents up there, but you kinda get lost in everything that's there, in a way.
Well,
Just 'cause there's so much. So, you know,
Bang.
if you wanted to, I don't know, if you wanted to post just this or something somewhere else, like even on the outside door, one more place, I don't know, just
we'll look at it.
think
and
about
see.
that, you know?
The idea, though, is each station has its own set of instructions, so that when you get to the station,
I would say that, we can test it this time, and if we find that people are wandering and don't know what the heck to do, maybe something like this in a handout form would be appropriate down the line.
yeah.
But I mean, we're trying to make this foolproof.
Right. But it is, but each, like I said, so when you wait for the express vote, there's actually its own banner, basically, for the express vote.
And you're not distracted by the other info.
When you're at
Yeah.
this, it's its own
Right.
set of instructions.
Right.
The only time that you have the multiple instructions is at the
When you
check-in.
start, yeah.
Or when you're waiting in line. So see, this voter is just waiting in line. They haven't even gone to
Yeah.
station 2. These are gonna, and I don't know where I did with it, but these say check-in station
Oh.
at the
Yeah,
top.
which is great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
that's
and
great.
the supervisor one will say supervisor on it. Like I said, the express votes are marked with numbers, so when that's facing out, you can see what number.
The numbers for both are great, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Okay, the only change I have on this, I think we need to tell voters that voters are not required to wear a mask, and that poll workers are not required to wear a mask. And I think we should do that, what to expect when you head to the polls to cast your ballot. And the reason for doing that is so that voters know exactly what the deal is there, because I'll tell you, the question that people have right now, going in businesses and just
Right.
all of that is, are, other customers required to wear a mask, and are employees required to wear a mask? Or is it just something that's recommended, or is it not even recommended?
Yeah.
So, I want to give people as clear an idea as possible what to expect when they go to the polls, so that then they have the option to vote absentee if they don't want to do that. And so, the way it's written, I think it's good, but I think it implies possibly that folks will be wearing masks. We have provided all of our poll workers with the proper PPE equipment, face masks, face shields, and gloves, which I think is good, but maybe we say something like, however, however, neither voters nor poll workers will be required to wear a mask in a polling location. Just leave it like that.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's
you want
make,
me to say, however, poll workers first or voters first, or make it 2 separate lines?
I would just say poll workers, however, poll workers and voters. How did you say that?
said, however, neither voters
Neither.
nor poll workers will be required to wear
Are
a mask.
required, yes.
That way voters know that we provided the equipment to people, but they're not under a false assumption that other voters are required to wear a mask, or that poll workers are required to wear a
Because we've
mask.
provided the stuff.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So I'll add the picture of the stylus, and then I'll go ahead and publish this online so that you can, it's hard to tell what this looks like
Yeah.
in this format. And I can then make edits and changes if you see that you want a different picture of
okay.
something, or if there's something else that you want. But this is the basic part for us.
Hey, last change, when I'm just looking at it, maybe right under what to expect when you head to the polls, or something somewhere in here, maybe link to the absentee ballot page at that point. Say, if you're not comfortable voting in person at a polling location, or would prefer to cast your ballot by absentee, or prefer to vote by absentee ballot, please visit our absentee ballot page for additional information. That way folks can see this, they can analyze it, make a judgment, and then go to the absentee page if they want.
Okay, you have not put that on the website
No, I'm not.
yet.
I can bring
Okay.
the computer in here and you can see what it looks like.
Would you mind?
Yes, let me.
I think we should try it, because we may notice something when you see it visually that, you can't see when it's typed out like this.
Well, and I think it should be a living document. We should change it as things change, of course.
Nothing set in
And-
stone here.
And tweak it and add to it and improve it if we see changes.
Right,
Yes, please, thank you.
as long as it's not too crazy process for you to make changes.
No,
Okay, I didn't think so.
I'm getting pretty good at it.
I know.
Reasonable and
I figured out how to make the
Yep.
stuff not flow funny too, finally, so, yeah.
Good.
So,
it's always a challenge, because you're working in a different, medium than what you would be doing on.
Well, you're dealing with the point of overload anyway.
Yeah.
When you get this much new data,
And that's what concerns me, is that people are gonna go, leave me alone, this is just overwhelming, and it is. But we still want them to vote.
I think people will be used to it though by then, now. I think people are getting more used to it. I mean, it's the new reality. I think by the time November rolls around, people be in the habit a little bit more with all this stuff.
I wish I shared your optimism.
Heck, maybe we should make a YouTube video or something about
That is
voting at the polling location. Example, you know, like this is how the procedure will work. And make it low budget, make it cheesy, whatever, you know, something that people watch and that's fun and,
That might be a good idea.
yeah.
People that are doing it right.
Have you talked about that or something?
We did, yes. I have someone in mind who is
Gonna help us do that, so.
Let's do that. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And it's not my idea. Yeah, you had said it before, so I'm just rehashing it here.
sure.
I think that's great. All right, I know your time's
No, I think we're good.
moving, but,
The only other, so as far as the agenda, our BOD printers, I'm not sure when they're gonna be here. And then our 450, hopefully today. And then we will be talking, with the Secretary of State's office today about when our supply will be here, because everything is coming in like gallons and pints. So we have to actually get it all prepped for, sending out to the polls. So that'll be part of our conversation today.
okay.
Hey, I just had a thought, you know, the BOD printers, Renee, you had pointed that the printers out as a, you know, something, a linchpin, like something that we don't want to go wrong. What happens, Jennifer, if someone tests positive for COVID-19, either in your office or in Becky's office? And I asked that thinking about us, if we're gonna be up there canvassing absentee ballots, and I also asked that thinking about how busy it's gonna be in the 2 weeks before the election, especially with absentee ballots. And, you know, what are the procedures in place if that happens? And then I think I would say to that point, you know, whatever the answer is there, you know, make sure you have a backup plan and a bunch of other people who you could plug in who were not part of that system if a quarantine has to happen with folks.
Right, yeah, that's gonna be tough. For the most part, a lot of our stuff can be done at home. But the printing of the ballots is a different story. I mean, so someone in Becky's office knows how to do the printing of the ballots, and then myself and Debbie do. So at least someone in both of our offices. So unless both of our offices are shut down, we would be okay. Worst case scenario is we could order ballots to be printed for us, you know, from a printer and everything. I don't know. We'll have to kind of think about that in regards to the offices being shut down.
I would just encourage you, maybe think about that and all of the procedures that would be affected, and then maybe try to train a few extra folks for each procedure, just in case something, I mean, you know, thinking, you know, the potential for something like that to happen, what's our backup plan, kind of?
We are going to be trained on how to print the ballots out of Power Profile, which is supposed to be easier to do, which would allow different people to be trained, I think, on printing the ballots. So I won't know that until Jerry or Dustin gets here to train us on that part of it.
Okay, make sure that's part of it.
So,
All right, so you're gonna show us what this looks like on the web. while we're waiting on that other business?
No, other than at some point, not now, but the 450, we should talk about that.
Right.
You know, I just wanna, and that's, can be post when we get it.
Well, that's, once they get it, and are trained on it, basically, then we'll know more, won't we?
Yeah, can it solve all of our absentee ballot counting needs?
No,
And
it won't.
It won't?
Nope,
Okay.
it won't.
Why are we getting it then?
It
Or,
will.
you know, like, what can it do, you know?
It will help us greatly. I mean, I'm not saying that it won't help us
Yeah.
greatly.
Yeah.
But,
Yo, what's the deal with it?
Oh,
yeah, or you can use the mouse if you want to.
Okay.
If we only had 12,000 absentee ballots, if that's like the total number of absentee ballots we get, probably counting them all on the 450 won't be any issue in the one day. If we get excess of that, it is going to be an issue because it can only count probably 1,500, maybe 2,000 in an hour. Maybe a little bit more, but these aren't pristine ballots.
No.
Yeah, that's
You know,
true.
they're all folded, so my plan is to use the 450, obviously, to be counting the bulk of them. But I also think we're going to have several DS200s set up to be feeding ballots into the DS200s as well. Depending on how many absentee ballots we get, we'll make the plans for that. We have the DS200s to do that, so that's not an issue on it having them or not. But I really do think one thing we need to press the governor's office, and I think this needs to come from the election commission. We need to press the governor's office to allow us to start feeding ballots on the Monday before the election. And that gives us the extra time to be able to do it. The machines can be set up so that reports aren't run, so that basically it would be the same as if you're shutting down early vote, you're shutting it down, someone's just feeding the ballots in, you know, but no reports are being run or anything like that. That's, on election day, my two things that I think are going to be difficult for us to handle is someone's going to have to start feeding in ballots pretty much at 9 o'clock that morning.
Is that the earliest you can start?
That's early as we can start. But we also will have a giant influx of absentee ballots coming in the mail that very last day as well, that we have to canvass and process too.
Do those have to be canvassed and processed on election day?
That is my question for our meeting today. I added that as a question for us to ask that as well. Because if the clerk got 200-300 absentee ballots
Let's
in.
say 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, who knows
never know.
what the number is. She not only has to scan them and get them put into her system, but then we have to get them to canvass them.
I'm okay on seeing that. I saw the PDF sheet.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm okay.
So, but yes, and so I do have that question for us to ask, the state board and the SOS today. What happens if a giant influx of absentee ballots come in on the day of the election? What's our time frame to canvass those? The other question I have too is, what happens if we are still canvassing, counting? Is there a time frame in the evening when we just say, okay,
Cut it off.
we're done? Because the election crew has been up since 5 o'clock that morning,
Right, yeah.
dealing with everything that's going on election day.
Maybe you want to have a backup crew ready to come in.
Ooh.
But that's the election commission too. I mean,
Sure.
that's my question is there a time frame where, let's say, it's 1 o'clock at night and we're not even halfway done?
Well, and that's when efficiency goes way down.
That's the other thing. You're
and
more apt to make
True.
mistakes.
That's
We
true.
don't need that.
So, I just want us to think about that possibility. I do have that question as part of our conversation today too. You know, what happens? Are you expected to work
Well, I mean,
overnight? How do we?
What if you
handle that?
supplemented your 450 with some 200s starting at 9 o'clock that morning?
We are. We are.
Yeah, no matter what.
That definitely is the plan. But I'm also thinking, not only are we dealing with the absentees on election day, but then we're dealing with all the polling locations and all those situations. And then the influx of new absentee ballots come in. I mean, there's just a ton of different scenarios to start thinking about election night procedures and election night itself.
So this is a math problem, right? If the if the 450 can count a maximum of 1,500 ballots an hour, let's say we have 30,000 absentee ballots, you know, how many ballots can a DS200 count in an hour? How many extra DS200s do we have? Can you count, oh, I'm okay, Bill. I already saw it on PDF. How many, you know, do we have enough DS200s? Could we physically count every single absentee ballot if we got, you know, X number of ballots, Y number of ballots, Z number of ballots? And could we physically count them on election day with the equipment we have? And if not, you know, maybe let's put those numbers in I'd say if you would like the commission to write a letter to the governor's office addressing this issue and making that point, I completely support that, and we should do that. And I suggest that we put the math in there, put the numbers in there, you know, because I think an example, when you show that, you know, we're getting this new machine, but it can only count this many ballots. We physically can't count every single absentee ballots. We have to have another day to do it. I think that would be helpful if I was on the other side of it in making that decision.
What's the downside?
I agree. So for Max's point, once we get that 450 in, that's the very first thing I'm gonna test and see how many ballots it'll count, an hour, then I'll.
Messed up ballots, you know,
Yeah.
mess them up.
Yeah.
I mean, they're absentee ballots, you
They're
know?
not pristine.
Yeah.
So to Bill, to your question, the downside is the fear that if we were to start counting on the Monday before the election, results could be released early. And when you're talking about a significant number of absentee ballots, they can change the outcome of a race.
Yeah, you're right.
How would they be released early?
Yeah, that's my question.
If someone were to close the machine, it could run a tape. However, the machines can be set to not run tapes until you manually enter a code to run the tape.
I would.
So that would be our fail-safe.
Yes, and that's how we set our machines up anyway. So all of our early vote machines and our absentees, if they were to accidentally close them, let's say during early vote, it will just close. It's not gonna start automatically printing out a tape that they can see results on. You can set these machines up so that they don't run a tape automatically. That's the fail-safe.
Yeah.
And that's what we would have to encourage. We're a PYO county, so we have control over that. But ES&S is burning those sticks. They can burn early vote sticks that don't run reports because they're site-specific anyway. ES&S, who is managing almost 60-some-odd counties, can set the sticks for early vote to not run tapes, and then make the election day sticks run tapes like they're supposed to. That, I think that's a reasonable request to ask the state to see if ES&S would do that for all the counties, and then that prevents counties from doing it. The tapes are time-stamped, so you would know if someone ran tapes early. And I almost think there's an audit log in the machine too, that you can go back and see
There ought to be.
that when whatever's been done.
Occurred.
I almost think there's an audit log in the DS200. I
Check
was
on
gonna
that.
look and see on
Yeah.
that one too, so yeah.
I mean, two things. You could have a limited number of people using the the 450 on
You
Monday.
would.
Limited, you know, really trained,
It's
not
gotta
gonna,
be tight.
we would have a limited number of people counting those ballots. And then number two, what do other states do that allow no excuse absentee ballot voting? When do they start counting ballots?
See, I would need to, probably we'd wanna look more at the mail-in voting ones.
I'll look and see. I feel like some of the states allow them to start to be run through the machines. Because I don't know how else.
Yeah, how they would do it,
how
all
else
on
they
one
do it.
day.
Like, how else do they
Doesn't make-
process?
There's
all
no
the
sense, and
ballots.
that's an arbitrary thing anyway.
Exactly, it is an arbitrary thing anyway. But I mean, maybe look at a couple states and see
I
that,
will.
because that's one more reason that if this is how other states do it, and we're adopting that process to some degree, we should adopt that part of the process. I think it helps make our case.
Yeah.
Are you right?
I am, yeah, I'll look at the other states and see what their protocols are on counting ballots.
And that again is, this issue could be addressed by our 12 counties that we're already affiliated with, you know, if we all 12 counties got together and sent the request to the governor.
Yeah.
I think it would have more
Now,
leverage.
I will
Sure.
preface this by saying this is truly a big county problem. The smaller
Oh,
counties
right, yeah.
may not experience this as much as we will. But certainly Benton, Washington, and Pulaski County, this is a
Sebastian.
real, and probably Sebastian
Yeah.
too,
Mm.
this is a real concern for our three counties,
Sure.
so.
Well, yeah, I'd say draft up the letter, make the points you wanna make, let us see it, we can revise it and edit it, and,
And all three of our counties are PYO counties.
well, maybe have the big counties sign on, or whatever.
'Cause we
Or all 12, I mean, I agree,
Yeah.
it helps make the case,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
But we all
Cool.
program our own, so we definitely can make our,
yeah, we
We
have to
we
have
know
that
we
control.
can do that.
Right,
So, yeah,
right.
and all three counties can do that too.
Anything else?
Oh,
Jennifer's got this meeting,
yep,
so we need
General
to
information,
adjourn.
the Secretary of State this morning in today's paper, if you read it, has disallowed the 3 petitions, you know, on the constitutional amendments so far.
So far.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Okay.
as it states right now, as he states, they won't be on the ballot unless something changes. Have you heard that? Okay,
I didn't read it yesterday, all 3 that were turned in,
I'll come
we're
back
turned down.
yeah, interesting.
later.
Well,
All right.
at the,
Have a good meeting.
we'll see what the litigation.
Webpage.
Yeah.
It's a timing issue now.